What's going on, everyone? You're back with your boy Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to have a look at distance, speed and time problems, and these are our most common rate problems that we're going to look at. So anytime that you're in the car and you have a look at the speedo, what we're looking at is a rate, distance per a unit of time. In the car, it's always going to be kilometers per hour. And when we're thinking about that as a rate, it does make life a lot easier. So anytime that you're in the car and you look at the speedo, you're looking at the speed, but it's actually a rate. So if you're looking at something like 80 kilometers per hour, those little bits of information tell us a lot about these types of questions. So we know that hour is a unit of time. That makes a lot of sense. And 80 kilometers is a distance. The per in this actually means divide, or you might see it written as a slash sometimes. But what we're really saying is that it's a distance divided by a unit of time. Usually 1 unit. Anytime that you hear the word per, we are going to be talking about a rate. So if someone asks how much money do you earn per hour, that's a rate. Or if we're talking about speed, we might be talking about meters per second or kilometers per hour. And these are both rates. How far in how long? So a rate is always by 1 unit. So if we're thinking about 80 kilometers per hour, what that's actually saying is that we would travel 80 kilometers in 1 hour. That makes a lot of sense. We could write this as 160 kilometers per 2 hours, but I would have to then write 160 kilometers per 2 hours or slash 2 hours, and this is way more confusing. It's much easier to use 1 unit, the unitary model, to make these as understandable as possible so everyone knows what you're talking about. When we are talking about these problems, the units are essential to understanding. So when we're talking about distance, we're going to be looking at kilometers, meters, centimeters and millimeters. And for time, we're looking at hours, minutes and seconds most usually. When we are talking about speed, it is just the distance that the question was given divided by the time, or distance divided by time, per. Our speed units are usually going to be meters per second or kilometers per hour. But if you just think about it as distance divided by time, that's what's going to give you that speed value, and your units are always going to be correct. The way that I teach this topic, distance, speed and time, is by using this triangle. Distance is always going to go up the top and speed and time go down the bottom. So once we've got that in, all we've got to do is read the question. Whatever we're trying to find out, we cover up. So if I'm looking for how fast is something going, right? How fast is Usain Bolt going? I'm looking for speed. So what I've got to do there is with my thumb, or you can actually cross it out, I want to cover up that S. All I'm left with is D over T. Remember that over, like a fraction, is going to mean divide. So to find the speed, all I've got to do is whatever that distance is, divided by the time, that's going to give me my answer. Another type of question is, hey, how long did it take you to get wherever? For this one, because I'm looking for long or time, I've got to cover up the T with my thumb. That means I've got distance on top over speed. Again, that over means divide. So to find time, anytime you're looking for it, it's distance divided by speed, and that will give you the answer in seconds, minutes, or hours. Finally, if you're looking for, how far did you go? That is a distance. So because I'm looking for a distance, I'm going to cover that distance up with my thumb. Speed and time are on the same level this time. So instead of doing divide, I'm going to multiply these two together. So speed times time is going to give us the distance. So let's look at an example. If I'm driving at 100 kilometers per hour and I drive for 3.5 hours, how far did I go? Because I'm looking for far, I'm actually looking for a distance, so I'm going to cover that up or get rid of the distance. That means I've just got speed and time left. And I'm going to put the values that I know into the triangle. So I've got 100 kilometers per hour for 3.5 hours. Because these are on the same level, all I've got to do is multiply these two numbers together. I know I've got the units in there and we're going to speak about them, but all you really have to do is multiply the numbers together. It's equal to 350. And because we're talking about how far, I'm going to write kilometers because I was going 100 kilometers per hour. That's all the maths we've got to do. It's a one-step equation. Once you've filled in the triangle, the maths becomes really easy. So what happens to the units? So if we write the units out, we can actually see algebraically where these go. And that could be a way to make sure that you get these units correct, because they're usually worth 1 or 2 marks for the whole test. So for this one, a snail is moving at 3 centimeters per hour. How far did it go in 2.5 hours? Again, well, I've got my speed, 3 centimeters, and I've got my time, 2.5. So to find the distance, I've just got to multiply these two things together. So all I've got to do is do 3 centimeters divided by hours, or per hour, multiplied by 2.5 hours. Because I'm multiplying a fraction by a whole number, I can actually put that whole number on top of the fraction, and I'm going to take the units with it. So this now means I've got 3 centimeters multiplied by 2.5 hours divided by hours, or per hour. Anytime on a fraction you've got the top and the bottom, they have the same thing, we can just cancel them out. So here I've got hours. If I cross those two things off, all I've got left up the top is 3 centimeters times 2.5. That's equal to 7.5 centimeters. And I actually know that's right because I'm looking for a distance, which is going to be in centimeters. So if you can't remember what unit you're looking for, it might be really helpful to put the units in your working out and cross off whatever's at the top and the bottom of a fraction. In this example, we're going to run 22 kilometers in 2.5 hours. How fast was I going? Because I'm looking for a speed, I'm going to get rid of that S and I'm going to put the numbers in. 22 kilometers over 2.5 hours. Again, to find the speed, all I've got to do is divide these two numbers. 25 divided by 2.5 is equal to 8.8, and I was going in kilometers per hour because I'm looking at a speed. Again, I could look kilometers on the top, hours on the bottom. Kilometers divided by hours is how I've got that unit. Last question is, how long does it take me to get to school if I live 12 kilometers away and I'm walking at 6 kilometers per hour? Because I'm looking for time, how long, I'm going to cover that up with my finger and I'm going to put 12 at the top and 6 kilometers per hour at the bottom. To find the time, all I've got to do is 12 divided by 6. I've got kilometers at the top and the bottom, so I'm actually going to cancel those out. And because I've got to divide at the bottom, that hours is going to go at the top. But really all you need to know is I had to do 12 divided by 6, which is equal to 2 hours. And that's all the maths we got to do. So my big pro tip for all of these is please draw the triangle for every question and then actually use your thumb once you've found out what you need. Put in the information that you do know, and that's going to be really, really important. All you've got to do from there is use multiplication or division for whatever the question needs. Thanks so much for watching this lesson, and I'll see you later.